pretty please, can I have some arts grant money? They're going to have a look and say, well, where's the Indigenous part? And we don't like the way this character is portrayed, and you don't have any minority LGBTQI plus BBQ WTF representation in your script. They are going to go through, and unless you tick all of those boxes to their satisfaction, you will never get the Screen Australia money. Now, there's a lot of people that are on the exact same wavelength as myself, and I would suspect yourself as well, Carly. The one thing that I think you are aware of, but you just didn't happen to mention in that, was that most of these artists depend on government money, and they won't get the government money unless they tick all the boxes for all the BS. We can complain about them putting the BS in. So my producer, Ben, a wonderful, wonderful filmmaker, he was the producer on Battleground Melbourne. You know him, Carly, has done wonderful work over the years. He and I were trying to team up and to try and figure out, how do you make movies in Australia without going to Screen Australia for money? Because the moment you submit your script to Screen Australia and say, hey, pretty please, can I have some arts grant money? They're going to have a look and say, well, where's the Indigenous part? And we don't like the way this character is portrayed, and you don't have any minority LGBTQI plus BBQ WTF representation in your script. They are going to go through, and unless you tick all of those boxes to their satisfaction, you will never get the Screen Australia money. Yeah. Then what happens is it bombs because of exactly what you talked about, Carly. Everyone's sick of it. No one wants that shoved down their throat anymore. And then the arts industry says, oh, well, we need the government to spend more money through Screen Australia because we won't have an arts industry. If it wasn't for Screen Australia, we wouldn't exist. No, guys, if it wasn't for Screen Australia, you wouldn't be looking at how to satisfy a bureaucrat. You'd be looking at how to satisfy a market, and then you would find one sooner or later. And there is no reason why Australia can't make internationally recognized and renowned entertainment. It's one of the most exportable industries on the planet. Movies, TV shows, music, graphic arts, computer games, all of it. There is no reason why Australians cannot be at the absolute forefront. Culturally, so many countries around the world love us. They love our sense of humor. They find us idiosyncratic and interesting. We could have a massive film and television industry, a massive stage production, music industry, exporting to the world. It's one of the easiest industries to export. Why don't we? Because instead of looking at the world as our market, we are looking at the bureaucrat and saying, how do I keep you happy so that you tick the box and I get the grant? And that's what's destroying the arts industry.
Well, this actually is quite perfectly leading into a little video I've just posted before, and I am fully expecting, like I said, to end up in a body bag. So just letting you know, this might be the last time you saw me, but I think I make a good point in this, and if you will indulge me, may I play it?
Of course.
All right. So this is friend of the show, but this is not what you guys will expect. So let me just go back to my profile and let me.
Friend of the show is a dangerous phrase around here.
Yes, well, it's everyone's favorite. So it's bigger, hairier, and much harder to ignore. So apologies. Problem. And no, it's not a lack of talent. It's bigger, hairier, and much harder to ignore. So let's talk about it. I know what you're all thinking. Carly, Abby Chatfield's boyfriend? Ooh. Well, what can I say? I live dangerously. We're going to address this bloke, Adam Hyde, otherwise known as Kelly Holiday, or one half of Peking Duck. And I know you're all thinking we're about to shit on him for his performance over the weekend, but to your surprise, I'm actually here in his defense. And no, it's not because I agree with him. I certainly don't. Politically, Adam and I are on very opposite sides of reality. But as a libertarian, I respect free speech. And even though that's a courtesy him and his girlfriend would certainly not afford someone like me, given that they want us to just die, that's a direct quote, I am a girl of principles. I'm never going to shit on someone who's clearly passionate about his art, and I actually think we need more of it. So tall poppy be damned. What I'm interested in is brand saturation, and this is the worst PR strategy, and it's currently the one strangling Adam's career. They've mistaken visibility for virtue, and the plan seems to be shove Adam into every podcast, panel, and Instagram story in Australia, hoping that sheer saturation turns him into a cultural event. They've dressed him up like a Michael Hutchinson's reboot, the 70s porn moustache, the Ron Jeremy swagger, but there's one tiny problem. You can't resurrect a cultural moment just because you wish it still mattered. The music Adam's making belongs to a world that no longer exists. It was millennials that lived the all-nighters, the glitter, the ecstasy in your bra, the revolver walk of shame at sunrise. We earned those lyrics, and this generation hasn't. Sadly, clubbing is dead, and this generation just vapes, spirals, and self-diagnoses anxiety disorders on TikTok. They're not sweating it out to a Tiesto set or transcending to a Four Strings remix. Kelly Holiday is selling nostalgia to a generation with no memory of the thing that they're nostalgic for. Adam has been propelled into ubiquity largely through his association with Abby Chatfield and an unusually progressive publicity apparatus. His cultural footprint is not earned through artistic inevitability, but engineered through relentless multi-platform exposure. Each appearance is freighted with the same cluster of approved attitudes, and the result is not influence, but it's fatigue. Overexposure, when coupled with moral grandstanding, does not amplify his message. It's actually inoculating against it. Authentic cultural authority has never been granted by publicists, nor secured through an accumulation of talking head appearances. It is conferred, often reluctantly, when an artist manages to ignite something primal and unnegotiable in the audience. Everything else, the branding, the advocacy, the outfits, the carefully curated outrage, it's all superficial. If you strip that away, what remains is either resonance or indifference. The more incessantly he and his handlers insert him into the conversation, the more convincingly they demonstrate that the conversation was never truly about his music to begin with. Progressive ideology does not refine art. It sadly neuters it. And the moment the rock star becomes the regime's well-groomed mascot, the erotic charge of that rebellion collapses into a tepid safety of corporate compliance. They've long forgotten that the audience will only resonate if they truly feel it, not when they're told to think it.
Yeah.
It's been pushed on us, shoved down our throat. And I think Adam, is a really good example of this. This is the music industry or the Australian creative industry at their best. I will take this square peg and I will shove it in your round hole. And that is a metaphor I use deliberately. and that's what it feels like. It feels like we are being sodomized by shit we are so uninterested in. We don't want this crap, and they don't care. They are force-feeding it to us. And so what you're seeing is people are honestly tuning out. This is why clubs are dying. This is why no one's going out, not because they don't want to. I mean, you could argue cost of living, but mostly there's no nightlife anymore. Everything is done under this guise of like, don't offend anyone. Don't wear something like, could be offensive. Don't say the offensive thing. It's a really difficult way to live your life.
So, Carly, I owe the world an apology because I've realized that I was wrong and that words are violence. You proved that with your sentence. But actually, I was going to give the gong for the most violent comment of the night to Decarb 420. Imagine the smell in their house. That is a physical assault using nothing more than words. That if words are violence was a sentence, that's it right there.
Yeah, no, it's
awful.
I as someone who's in the creative industry, I mean, you and I had this conversation a little while ago, and it's something that I've been having to reconcile with. The bigger this podcast gets, the more we do the oddcast, the less likely it is that I'll ever have a creative career in this country, given the current climate. And, and for anyone who can sympathize, like it's a really hard thing to reconcile something that you love, something that you're super passionate about, and you spent your entire life dreaming of doing is now sort of slipping away, not because you're not talented, not because I can't compete, but because the gatekeepers and the powers that be will never allow someone like me in there. Never. Given the political climate, should it change, that might change. And so, you and I have had this conversation, and I think it's something that is worth talking about. They're never going to open for us, so you have to build your own infrastructure. You have to do it this way, right? Like, and find different ways to get your stuff out there. And thankfully, thanks to social media, YouTube, TikTok, it's democratized it, and that's why there's so much competition now. And you don't necessarily need to have the record contract. You don't necessarily need to have the IMG modeling contract. You can get there just from cultivating your own audience. And that's why these kind of creative endeavors are so important, whether it's you and I on a podcast or someone doing a YouTube channel. That's why, when people support us, like that's the reason this stuff exists. Without it, we can't do it.
You can't do it without it.
Listen, I know, you have to put up with Carly as well, but aren't I worth it? Just follow for me. Just like and subscribe and share and just tell everyone about me. Don't mention Carly. Don't tell them that she's there as well. Just kind of like she's the relative that nobody talks about. Like let's just make a deal. We won't talk about her. Just follow for me. Yeah? Follow, like, subscribe, buy us a coffee. Yeah? I'm just there. That'd be great. That'd be really appreciated. Because honestly, you try putting up with Carly before you've had coffee in the morning. It's not fun. Thanks.